And good evening, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of You Get What You Get. I'm Rick Hampton, along with my co-hosts Tree McDougal and Tim Turner, coming to you on a Tuesday evening. Hope everybody's having a great evening. Hope everybody's bracket is in better shape than mine. My NCAA bracket, men and women, is kaput.
You mean I only have the perfect bracket in America?
I'm right there with you.
I, hey man, I had Purdue winning the whole thing for the men, and had Stanford getting to the finals, and they're both gone.
Oh,
But one thing certainly eases my pain is the fact that we have a living legend in the house with us tonight, the great Ray Scott, former coach of the Detroit Pistons, first black man to win the NBA Coach of the Year award, a walking double-double throughout his 11-year pro career in the NBA and ABA. Ray, it's always an honor and pleasure to have you on. Doggone it, do I have my book handy? I don't have my book handy. I would have shown you a book to everybody. So you got to tell them about it, Ray, before we get out of here.
Well,
But welcome to the show.
thank you, my friend. I've just been blessed with a Sunday with my family at Little Caesars Arena as we did a book signing, and it was wonderful. We sold some books, and I got to interact with a lot of the Detroit metropolitan folks, and so that was cool. And the only downer was the Pistons lost to the Miami Heat, but I did get to meet Kevin Love, and I did get to talk to my alumnus from University of Portland, Eric Spoelstra. So that it made it a great, great day.
And we got closer to that number one overall pick, right? So
yeah, I don't think we're going to bomb on that until we draft it. But I was more concerned about Coach Dwayne Casey.
Yeah, coaches want to win, man. They don't worry about that kind of stuff.
He's not rebuilding, because whenever you rebuild, and I always tell people, be careful of that word rebuilding, because when the players come around, it's always the new cat that brings them around, and you're forgotten. So,
Mark Jackson will tell you about that, right?
Yes. I mean, and me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The rebuild is. That's why I had George Tapp and Kevin Porter and not Chris Ford, but John Mingel, Archie Clark. I didn't want any. I traded number one draft picks for guys I knew could play in the NBA. And that's the way that.
You did not like rookies, right?
I liked them, but I liked them from a distance. Because rookies bring you so much promise and so little deliverance. If you don't have a spot for that rookie and you work hard for half a year trying to fit him into your team, like I said, that's not good. People are critical of the rookie, but the rookie has a 3-year no-cut contract.
Yeah.
I didn't have a 3-year no-cut contract. So it didn't work out. I found out what sayonara meant.
Yeah. See you later.
Yeah, that's it. In Japanese that means see you later. Yeah.
See you later, alligator.
Yeah.
Hey, but we want to bring you on here. Sad news today.
Yes.
The Knicks legend, the great Willis Reed, the captain of the New York Knicks, led him to 2 world championships. Passed away. The pride of Grambling University passed away today at the age of 80. I know he was a great friend and competitor of yours, and we thought you would be the perfect person to help us put his storied career into perspective.
Well, he was one of the first great HBCU players in the NBA. Hall of Famer, champion. Now, the first champion was Earl Lloyd from West Virginia State with the Syracuse Nationals. But Willis became a champion with the Knicks and led the Knicks both of their championships. So he was a source of pride in our community because of his heritage and because of the fact that before Willis became a superstar, it was said that black kids couldn't play in the NBA in spite of Earl Lloyd. But Earl Lloyd was a superstar. Willis was a superstar. And I think Willis changed that whole perception and had Red Holzman, Red Auerbach, Earl Lloyd, Marty Blake, all of those guys were out there scouting these kids in African American school. And so, in my opinion, Willis, he didn't lead the parade, but he certainly carried the flag. And so, as a guy that I competed against, and I thought about that when we talked today, Rick, about let me think of stories about Willis Reed. And the biggest thing I remember about Willis Reed for me is when the Baltimore Bullets got to the level of being a playoff team, and we got to the playoffs and played the New York Knickerbockers. Gene Shue changed our whole lineup because Willis has always been dominant of Wes Unseld because Wes was a 6'7" center. Willis Reed was a 6'10" center with all kinds of skill, all kinds of post skills. Now think about this: a guy going out to post up, a guy going out to post up Wes Unseld. That was Willis Reed. He posted Wes Unseld up, and he was quite a good player offensively, much more so than the NBA thought. Because when Willis first started, he was at the power forward, and Walt Bellamy was a center. When they traded Walt Bellamy and got Dave DeBusschere, they made Willis the center. So again, Will was just, man, he was something. He was something special. The left-handed jump shot, he had the post moves, he played defense, and he played the big guy. The two biggest guys out there is Wilt and Russell. And he started, that's who he started against. And eventually, Kareem and Nate Thurman and Dave Cowens, the other guys came into play. But Wilt cut his teeth. Willis cut his teeth against those guys when he became the center. But his great thing was that he could pull you out away from the basket, but he could play a mighty mean post. And he could put the ball on the floor.
Yeah, I'm just watching this highlight where he went right by Kareem off the dribble.
Oh yeah, he could do that. He was very well immersed in the fundamentals coming out of an HBCU. If you watch Willis, he was fundamentally sound, very much fundamentally sound guy, and just a crackerjack rebounder. So he was a quintessential player. People ask me about Willis all the time because as my career was winding down, before I went to the ABA, Willis was that guy in the East, because Wilt was out west and Russ was retired. So Willis was very quietly becoming on a team that would win 2 championships. He was very quietly becoming a great Hall of Fame.
Tree.
Yeah, I was so fascinated by hearing what you had to say, Ray, and also watching the clips. And I've been watching them earlier today. I was a little bit young.
Yeah.
But I definitely, remember and, know of him and know the name.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate your insight on that. Off the court, what do you remember about him?
A gentleman and a guy that set the standard for how we behaved as NBA players. You never heard anything negative about Willis. And there's a few players around, you get some of this and some of that. With Big Will, he signed autographs. like people, address the public. Um, he was my friend. So if there's a criticism out there floating around, it certainly isn't in my head. And the only criticism I can think of about Willis Reed was how he killed everybody with that left-handed jump shot. That
Right.
was criticism. That's what I remember.
What was the first meeting like, though? How did you meet, and what was the first meeting like?
Our first meeting was in Madison Square Garden,
Okay.
and I was with Earl Lloyd, but I wanted to meet Willis. I think my second, so 63 or 64, because he was, if you recall, Willis Reed was not a top draft pick. He was second round.
Second round.
He was second rounder. They picked a guy named Marvin Bad News Barnes, not Marvin, Jim Bad News Barnes, out of Texas West.
Remember him?
Over Willis Reed, number one. Willis wasn't even the glamour pick in New York. But when they saw him in the first few games, and they were saying, "Oh, he's a forward. He's okay. He's out on the floor." But every time he had somebody around that basket, he was doing the ring dang doodle with them. So they started saying, maybe this guy is our best center and not Bell's. And see, Willis had been told by the Pistons that they didn't want him. They preferred Joe Caldwell. And we took Joe Caldwell, 6'5", whip it, jump over the basket, great player, but not in the class of Willis Reed. And if I had the fortune to play with Willis and Dave DeBusschere on the front line, I think things would have been quite different. I think the bad boys would have gotten here a lot sooner than 89, 90. Because he was a tough guy. And Dave and I like to think we were tough guys. But that didn't happen. We took a forward and did not draft a center. And our center at that time was Reggie Harden. And so we said, well, we won't draft Willis. Well, we should have drafted Willis. And then Willis would have made us.
For some of our viewers out there, Reggie Harden was a Detroit native, 7-footer, just had a troubled life. And I think he was murdered or something, wasn't he, right?
At 29.
Yeah. So never got a chance to fulfill his promise as a basketball player.
Right. Couldn't lead the league. Willis left Louisiana and took over New York. And they thought it was going to be Walter Bellamy that was going to take over New York, and then Jim Bad News Barnes. And think about it. It turned out to be the guy that because of it, that I hated that HBCU stigma they tried to put on it. And so
I'm old enough to remember his coach, because when I was covering the SWAC, Fred Hobdy at Grambling was still the head coach.
Right.
And they were just like legends there. Ben Jobe at Southern, people like that. And they molded men.
Yes.
In addition to basketball players. Those cats never stepped out of line. They were always disciplined. They always gave ear to what their coach said. I mean, all he had to do was look at a player, and the kid would straighten up. He knew what he did wrong. All he had to do just give him that glare. And he could melt butter just staring at it. Yeah. He was that kind of guy. Right. And he would talk often about Willis and the kind of guy that he was, and that, how he was raised. And there was another aspect of it too. I mean, I consider that this is like, the 70s and 80s, and where there was far more of a, I guess they didn't have a lot of options, so they got great players. I think it was with Purvis Short at Jackson State or something like that. And I mean, they had a lot of great players in the SWAC, but Willis stood out among everybody.
And I like to tell you, Timmy, when you read my book, you'll see it in there. I alluded to those guys in my book.
Okay.
NBA in black and white. The NBA, in my opinion, although it was built on African Americans, and when you check out the NBA, and I talk about this all the time, it happened with 4 guys: Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, Elgin Baylor, Oscar Robertson. That's the four components of the NBA. However, the other components to it, the table became the black colleges. The kids that they sent that was supposed to be antisocial, anti-intelligent, or intellect, all of that stuff was put to bed because the NBA was built on the character of the character and I want to say the perception of the white All-American player. That's how the NBA was built.
Mhm.
And the white All-American players were blended in, the Bailey Howells, the Bob Pettits, and so forth, the Dalshays, as superior. What does superior mean? That means that when black guys come in, they can't play with those guys because they're college educated. They went to major universities. And what happened when a lot of the colleges started getting a look at these players from the HBCUs that were going into the NBA, you notice all of a sudden desegregation came into play. We've talked about that on this program with respect to Bear Bryant and pro football
Right.
and college football. Bear Bryant was like, "What are these guys run up and down the field like the wind? Nobody can catch them. I want some of those guys, and we have them right here in Alabama. We got to stop this stuff. We got to. It's just absurd." And I thought that was the case with the NBA, that the HBCU, Sam Jones, they talked about Bill Sharman, deadly shooter, and Sam Jones was deadlier than him.
Yeah.
Came from North Carolina Central. See, those things start. K.C. Jones guarding a guy from the Celtics. And he'd meet the guy at the locker room and guard him from the locker room back to the locker room after 48 minutes. I mean, and because Bill Russell and those guys were the guys they looked at and said, "Oh, we got to get these guys on our campus." And I remember in 1964, the Olympic year, when Baylor University in Texas said, "We can no longer do this. We have to have the African American athletes. We have to have the black athletes." And before that, it was the Negroes. But there was that whole situation, in my opinion, of where the HBCU or the African American player became the bulwark of the NBA. I hope I answered your question too.
And in the NFL, Tim and Tree and Ray was the same way.
Right.
Deacon Jones was like a 19th round draft pick.
That's right.
Right.
This guy can't play. We took him in the 19th round.
Yeah.
One of the greatest pass rushers in the history of.
Yeah, I would talk to Doug Williams a lot about coming out of the SWAC, and he would say something that said, "They always talk about that we are raw players. We don't get coaching. It's do these things that they said, so they would lowball these kids when it would come contract time." He said they try to get us with a Coca-Cola and a moon pie to sign, and just the idea.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I have a question though. Didn't he? Did Willis and Earl the Pearl play together?
Yes, they
Okay,
yes.
so that's another one.
Absolutely. They wanted Earl, and it was Dick Barnett, HBCU school, and Walt Frazier. Dick Barnett took his game down a notch, became a defender when Walt Frazier came. He tore his Achilles, came back, and managed to come back, but he was going to retire. That's when they traded with us. They didn't really trade. They got Earl. And all of a sudden, now you have Earl, and people saying Earl and Frazier, they'll never play together. They want to change.
Yeah.
Yes. So now you got two HBCU guys,
Right.
as they had before, and the Busher and Bradley and Frazier.
Well, Earl was a key component on that great Baltimore team that you were on, Ray.
Yeah, he was that team. I mean, it's an argument with about Gus, because Gus was great, West was great. We had Hall of Famers all of a sudden, 3 Hall of Famers on one team. Earl was like, he woke the city of Baltimore up. because Baltimore is a city that gave you the first NBA Rookie of the Year in Don Barksdale back in the 50s. People don't even know Don Barksdale was a Rookie of the Year, or that Ray Felix was. Didn't nobody even talk about that. But Ray Felix was LIU, Long Island University, and Don Barksdale came from California. He was an Olympian and has an Olympic gold medal, but they had played for Baltimore. And in researching for my book, I found out all this about different guys and guys who were in the NBA or had a cup of coffee and that kind of thing. But it always amazed me. The terminology was the guys in the black schools can't. Yeah. And that just always would throw. I see guys like Sam Jones. Like, what are these people talking about? Yeah. You know, Sam Jones go a whole game and don't miss a shot. Yeah. And they would say, well, you know, the guys, yeah, they can't play. They're from Murray State or somewhere in West Virginia or somewhere in the Carolinas. And I go, the last time I saw that guy, everybody was looking at him, Bobby Dandridge or somebody like that. They were looking at him drop 40 points. Yeah.
Bobby's in this video here with
Kareem.
With the Bucks. Hey, Ray, we're not gonna keep you, man, but I want to play this and just get your thoughts on this moment. It kind of sums up Willis's time in New York.
Grambling, the captain of the next, the most valuable player. And I think we see Willis coming out. There he comes right now. 6 feet 10 from Grambling. The captain of the next, the most valuable player of the NBA. Frazier then slows it down, is picked up by Jerry West at the top of the post. Reed. Willis Reed scores the first bucket here tonight. And Reed now is outside. There's his second shot. He is 2 for 2. Willis Reed.
He only had 4 points that game.
Yeah, but they were the big 4. That first 4, he broke that. He set that trend for his team. They ran their stuff. He was not to post up Wilt. He was to pull Wilt away from the basket because Wilt didn't follow you away from the basket. He's famous for not following him. And you just go out there and miss. And he did a great defensive job. Willis didn't miss. That jump.
The clip right there showed me that load management is really a load of nonsense. This man's playing on one leg, and these cats are sitting out back to back.
With a trap. I watched guys sit out a week. A guy would sit out a week today with a sprained ankle. Yeah. And Tree, that's so sad. When you're
built differently, hit differently.
It hits differently. Yes.
I believe that. I believe I not only is the structure of the body built because they're big, strong guys, but I mean these guys go down with the whimper. I'll see a guy sitting over on the bench for a week, and they'll say, "Yeah, his sprained ankle is getting better." I had a sprained ankle for 2 days, and I said, "Oh, I would tell my ankle, you got to get better, or I'm gonna lose my job." I believe the Diwali Pip syndrome. If you sit over in that bench, the other guy's gonna take your job. Right. They make so much money. If I make $25 million and you make $400,000 and a lot of money, that's a lot of money, or $800,000, I know you're coming back out of that lineup because I make too much money. Mm-hmm. The psychology of it has changed. But I know you guys got to run. I just wanted to.
But I do want to answer. You know, Wilt took the brunt of so many defeats. I just want to know he had 45 points and 27 rebounds in that game that they ended up losing, but he had 45 and 27.
Yeah,
no, I was just a typical Wilt Chamberlain game.
Easy target though. Wilt was always an easy target. Because that was what the writers decided. Russ was the good because he was up there in Boston with all that crap they have up there and how they treat people. And they had an article a day from a kid that's there now, Jaylen Brown, talking about how you're treated in Boston. Boston, it's not good. But Wilt, because he was in Philadelphia, and came second. He became the anti-hero in the NBA. And that's the NBA. He only had 8 teams. And so to develop interest, there were the things between Russell and Wilt. Russell was the good, and Wilt was the bad.
Yeah.
Protagonist, antagonist.
Yeah.
For the story.
And Ray, the name of the book. Tell us about the book.
Oh, the memoirs, the NBA in black and white. Memoirs of a trailblazing coach.
That's Ray Scott.
That's me.
You get it at Amazon and practically anywhere on the
any bookstore. I went to. They had a Sources bookstore in Detroit, and 2 wonderful ladies, and that's who did my books on Sunday. And it was a highlight. If you get a chance to look at my page, you will see my family. It was one of the happiest moments in my life.
It's a beautiful family too.
Thank you, dear. Thank you.
Very beautiful.
All right, Ray. We love you, man. Thank you so much.
Peace, my
brother. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
That was the great Ray Scott, an NBA legend, and just the nicest man you ever meet, and a fitting tribute to Willis Reed. And you know, guys, I hear him talk about that. They thought about the NFL players like that back then. You coming out of the HBCUs, and except if not for the guys in the AFL to start recruiting some of these guys, and I can't think of the name of the Black Scout who was it was a couple of guys who really went after the HBCU football players that and started bringing them in. And speaking of, like, we lost the great Otis Taylor this week.
He's a Prairie View, right?
Prairie View at A&M.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we definitely want to thank Ray Scott for checking in with us this evening. So back to those brackets, man.
Do we? Yes. Let's go back to the brackets.
Yeah. Those are great. It was a great start to both tournaments. I mean, just it's what if you forget about everything else, like from Thursday through Sunday, and then it's like even beyond that with the women staggering their games, they're playing even yesterday and today. It's just great basketball all the way around. There are great stories all over the place. You just find yourself entranced by some of the action that's going on, and your heart breaks for some of those kids when they lose, and then you're really elated for those Cinderella teams.
Yeah, my team, unfortunately, or teams, not in it this year, and so I think that I'll have to find a new team to root for. I'm not sure who yet. Just kind of have to figure out who I want to.
Carolina didn't make it, right?
Carolina, and then you said they turned their nose up at NIT. So
right.
Maybe they just want. Maybe they were tired.
That's what it is. They were very fatigued. I just think that's a blue blood snub, and they should not be doing stuff like that. I mean, it's good basketball. There's nothing wrong with playing the not in the tournament. That's what NIT stands for. But
oh wow.
I just caught that, not in the tournament. But we're watching clips of Princeton
in Missouri. Yeah,
I do like a good upset though.
But what I see, guys, I see a team like Princeton, older players, been around. They're not afraid of young guys that can run and jump out of the gym. These guys going to be fundamentally sound. And if they're making shots with the three-pointer, they got it.
Yeah, because these kids here, this is an Ivy League school. They're there for education first, because I don't think they give scholarships to I'm thinking maybe it's football, but maybe I don't know if it's like that. But I knew they don't give scholarships in football at the Ivy League schools. I don't know if it's the same way with basketball. But nonetheless, they're there for 4 years because they're trying to get their degrees.
Right.
You know, it's not like this one and done business. And so you got kids who are playing team ball. I'm not going to say they're any smarter than the other ball players, but they're playing with a different idea and identity that they have.
Yeah. You get and the 3-pointer, man, is a great equalizer when these guys are shooting 40, 44% from the 3 and not turning the ball over and not missing free throws. That's how these teams get in trouble. Purdue the other day, they would just they turned the ball over like 18 times or something.
Right.
And you know, if Preston plays Missouri a 7-game series,
Missouri wins 6.
Yeah.
So what, Tim?
Missouri wins 6 of them. But the one that counts, they didn't win, and that's the deal. And that is what is so great about the tournament. It is as level a playing field as you can possibly have, where you can have a team like, you know, a Princeton knock off a number 1 or something like that, or you have, you know, you'll see Duke getting knocked out by a lesser team. Was it Fairleigh Dickinson in their win?
Yeah.
And there was a story out there that said it was worth $10 million of free advertising for Fairleigh Dickinson. Yeah. And I remember my son's freshman year at Mercer, they played Duke in Charlotte, I believe, and they beat Duke in the first round of the tournament. That I think that money, the president sent out like an email telling these department heads, ask for whatever you want. Checks were starting to roll in on the strength of one win in the NCAA tournament. They were telling folks are like, you know, just throwing money at the school now. And I think that's what has happened. I think there were Fairleigh Dickinson was having some financial straits until they won that first game. And it turned some things around there for them. So that's all it takes for one of these smaller schools is to get a little taste of some success like this. And it could have such a tremendous benefit for the university at large.
Despite Kennesaw State's loss, I think that, you know, that name recognition for them is going to help propel that program and that university. I was, you know, even when they were playing, there were so many things on the screen about Kennesaw State, you know, the backdrops. And I thought, you know, it was great marketing and name recognition for Kennesaw State. Sorry that they lost. I was rooting for them. On to my next new favorite team.
Yeah, but you're right. Last night, Charles Barkley was saying that what he will remember most about this tournament are stories. Like he said, Kennesaw State to him was the team of the tournament for him. And I'm thinking that might be a bit tainted because he spent so much time here in Atlanta doing the NBA stuff in TNT, and he gets to see Kennesaw. But nonetheless, he was saying just how those kids played. I mean, they went from winning one game to being in the NCAA tournament within like 2 or 3 years. And just that kind of dedication and the heart that that coach showed, and the idea that there are like 6 D1 basketball programs in the state of Georgia, and that was the one that went to the tournament.
Hootie hoo, the Owls, hootie hoo.
And you know what? That's another thing I think that helps the Fairleigh Dickinsons, the Kennesaw States, and the Princetons, because you have so much movement now where guys are transferring in and out. So you got teams that have been playing together for a while against teams. Not only are they young, they hadn't played together a lot too. And those are just little things that can pop up when you have a critical turnover because you thought the dude was cutting.
Right.
And you know, that little, and then they go down and hit a 3. You know, something like that.
It turns it around.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so we had Princeton, the SEC, Arkansas, good team, man. They beat Illinois and knocked off Kansas.
Right.
And they're going to have UConn Thursday night. My Tennessee Vols. Boy, they got a nice road ahead of them. They beat Louisiana, knocked off Duke. Tim, why does everybody hate Duke, man? Because they're Duke.
It starts with the old.
Because they're good.
It starts
because they have been good.
It starts with the old rat, but then I think, and then they just they get players. I think also it might be with the. I've seen Duke play in other sports, and there's an air superiority about that, and that doesn't go over well with people. It does not. I mean, just collectively, I've seen them play in a couple of soccer tournaments and some other sports, and there's a thing that says, we are Duke and you are not. And
Haters.
Where I was standing in line at Chick-fil-A at the airport, standing behind the tennis team, and some of the vibe. I didn't know it was Duke. I was like, who are these young ladies and why are they acting like this? And then I saw they were all like dressed alike, and then I looked at the name tag and said, oh, okay. All right.
Acting like what?
No, they were number one of them like was blistering paint cussing up a storm. And I'm like, she's in public in a line for fast food in a crowded concourse, and you got school gear on. So it's like, that's not a good look.
Maybe her fries didn't come fast enough.
Those waffle fries, if you don't get yours,
they're good.
You don't get those waffle fries. There could be a problem.
Is that recent? Was that recent?
Was that recent? It was recent. It was about a couple of months.
Oh.
It was one of their teams. They might not have been. It was some female team. I don't know. It might not have been tennis. It might be in another sport. But I did pull aside one of the teammates and said, "Hey, y'all probably want to chill on this because you're representing your school in this airport, and that's not a good look."
And they looked at you like you owed them money, right?
Exactly. Like,
I was going to say, what was the
reception
to that?
Pops?
Yeah, who are you, Pops? You know they're bad when they call you Pops.
Oh, my God.
Back in my day, we didn't have fast food. We had to.
That's right.
Yeah, we had brown.
We didn't get to be in airports back in my day, right?
Back in my day, no, we didn't. So Tennessee won. The SEC is good. You got Tennessee, Arkansas, and you got the number one team in the nation, Alabama, which seems like the deck is cleared for Alabama to probably take this thing now. Meet Houston at some point.
Tennessee has Florida Atlantic Thursday night.
Right. So, another one of those upset specials.
Right. Yeah. Let's not forget about what Florida Atlantic has been able to do. They beat Memphis, and then they knocked off.
Oh, they beat Memphis on a cheat.
Yeah.
That was a bad call.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, those things happen.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And Alabama, and this is a team that has a little controversy going, following it around with one of the players, Brandon Miller.
Right.
And Darius Miles, who was in a lot of hot water. In fact, he's been accused of being involved in a murder off the team now. And people are thinking Brandon Miller's involvement or lack of involvement, he should not be playing, but he is. And he is, not only is he their best player, but one of the best players in the country. So they are carrying that with them.
And I think he has to have security now because of I think I heard that.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Because of threats he's gotten, so they provided security for him. Yes.
Yeah.
People will always threaten people online or wherever.
The mighty ACC only has Miami remaining.
Yep.
That's because Duke's gone. That's because North Carolina's gone. That's because
never went.
The state. Yeah, North Carolina never went. The
ACC is having a rough time, except for Miami. It looks like because the Miami women pull off a major upset, I believe, where they knocked off Indiana last night. And so you got both schools' basketball programs going to the Sweet 16. Virginia Tech was the #1 seed, and they got knocked off early. That was an ACC school. So it doesn't look so good for the old mid-Atlantic there.
And Miami has Houston, and Houston
Right.
has a heck of a team.
Yep.
So yeah, it's shaping up. I mean, anybody. I think is it who's the billionaire investors that says that somebody has a perfect bracket?
It was Warren Buffett. He said if anybody had
yeah.
perfect bracket, you get $1 million.
Yeah.
And somebody, I think ESPN had 20 million brackets, I guess, sent into them, and I said all of them were busted, which would make sense. I mean, unless you are like Biff and Back to the Future, you're not gonna be able to get get what's going on and get it perfect.
Maybe next year, Tim. Maybe next year.
And on the women's side, is anybody gonna stop South Carolina?
Nope.
Oh, I hope not.
Nope. There's one thing that I saw a highlight this morning, and I was in the gym, and I saw this line exchange between Louisville and whoever they played last night. But the first handshake was between these two players from Louisville and this other two player from the other school, and it was more like a wrestling match handshake, like they were going at each other. And then
Louisville, Texas last.
I think it's Louisville and Texas, yeah. And whoever the first person for Texas and the first player for Louisville, number 10 for Louisville, yeah, she was sort of cocky, and I guess she let Texas know what was up, and the first person for Texas didn't appreciate it. It was tense, to say the least.
Aggressive handshake is what you're saying.
Oh, very aggressive. That's supposed to be the sportsmanship part of the game. You shake hands at the end, and that right there. It could have gotten away from it because it was really weird. There may be a clip somewhere out there, Rick. I don't know if you can find it and do anything with it, but it was interesting to see. But you got Ole Miss upsetting #1 Stanford. So you got Stanford, the #1 that's out, and you got Indiana, #1 that's out. So 2 #1s are out on the women's side, 2 #1s are out on the men's side.
And Stanford was the one team I thought that had a chance to play with South Carolina, but Ole Miss took care of that.
Yeah. Somebody was asking this, so who had Ole Miss beating Stanford in their women's bracket?
Right.
So, there's nobody that would have had that. And, congratulations to the ladies of Ole Miss. I don't think they're called Lady Rebels. I don't even think they're called Rebels anymore.
Yeah.
But congratulations to Ole Miss and what they did there with that. But then we have like this, like with 3 or 4 schools that have 4 schools that have both the men and women's programs advancing to the Sweet 16. You have Miami, Tennessee, UCLA, and UConn. So, congrats to those schools. I remember one year Carolina won both the women's and the men's championships in the same year, which was, that's
what year was that?
To me,
what year was that?
Gosh, it was in the early 2000s. Just to see that, one day the men win, the next day the women win, and just the excitement that has to be on that campus where you got the national champs of your entire basketball program. So that was pretty hot. So the last time they had something like this was in 2015 when 5 schools had that, where Duke, Gonzaga, Louisville, Carolina, and Notre Dame all had both of their programs in the Sweet 16. So hats off to the ones that did it this time around. I mean, shoot, Georgia, we have a drought with Tech in Georgia. I don't think anybody's made these Sweet 16s around here except for birthday parties around the state. But it's not our basketball team, so can we just have one team make the Sweet 16?
Hey,
because Texas got Damon Stoudemire as their new basketball coach. Maybe that's going to turn things around.
Who's basketball coach?
Damon Stoudemire. He's a former long-time NBA player.
Yeah.
So hopefully that'll turn their fortunes around with those cats.
Maybe.
Yeah. Hey, didn't Kenny Anderson and those guys make the
Oh yeah, Kenny Anderson. You had Dennis Scott's teams. You had Stephon Marbury's team. Georgia Tech used to be a powerhouse. John Sally, your boy.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech. I mean, that's what that. I mean, I was watching them play at that time with Sally, Mark Price, and those guys when they started they put Tech on the basketball map, and they have not been anywhere close to that since.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Those days.
the good old days.
Good. Back in my day, I went Georgia Tech. Yeah. I mean, my day.
You know what? Speaking of back in the day, I think we gotta pay homage. It was 1966, 2 days ago, when Texas Western knocked off Kentucky to win the NCAA title. Texas Western had all black starting five, Don Haskins. You know, they made the movie about it. And you look at college sports on a whole since the influx of the black athlete. And I think they did not want us to play.
They did not.
Ray was saying, yeah. They probably still don't.
Texas
I don't
Western
know.
played Kentucky, and you know who one of the players on Kentucky was at that time, right?
Yes.
Pat Riley.
Pat Riley. Pat Riley was one of the star players for the races Adolph Rupp.
Yeah.
Well, he had the right first name, didn't he?
Adolph. For real.
He had the right first name. So and you know, they made a movie about that, which is a great movie.
It
And,
absolutely was.
Yeah.
What was the name of the movie?
You know what? I should have thought of that before I mentioned it.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna look it up right quick. Movie.
But it was a great movie, right? It was great.
Absolutely. There she goes. This is good podcasting when we have this lull.
Glory Road. Glory Road.
Yes, right. Glory Road.
Glory
Road. Yes.
Yeah, Glory Road.
Glory Road.
Glory Road.
Outstanding.
Well, let's keep moving,
Here's
guys.
for a hot second because it's gonna. I mean, we're gonna probably run out of time with it.
Yeah.
World Baseball Classic is going on. We got the championship game, U.S. versus Japan. It is now going to the top of the 8th inning. U.S. is losing 3-1 to Japan. And what's so instructive about that, perhaps, is Shohei Ohtani, the Babe Ruth of baseball, the guy who can pitch and hit and do everything he wants, did not start his pitcher tonight for Japan. But he said he is available to come in late to pitch. So it's pretty much Japan's going to win the World Baseball Classic with only 2 innings left.
I want to see him face his teammate.
Oh yeah, they're thinking about Ohtani versus Trout, which would be interesting to see. But in this Classic, people are like bemoaning some of the injuries that have happened in the Classic. You have Jose Altuve. He's out for indefinitely when he broke his hand when he got hit by a pitch. You got
a thumb.
Ma'am?
Fractured thumb.
Fractured
Right?
thumb. That's right. Fractured thumb. Correct. Thanks, Tree. And you had, gosh, what's his name? The Mets lose their closer.
But isn't it true that baseball purists are not really a fan of the World Baseball Classic because of the injuries? Or, I've heard that as well.
I think you're right. They are. But at the same time, I saw today where the Arizona Diamondbacks have lost their catcher because he broke his forearm in spring training. Had nothing to do with the World Baseball Classic. He broke his forearm. There's some other guys.
But the players like it, right?
Huh?
Sorry, the players like it, right? Because they're playing for their countries.
For the country. They just want to wear that red, white, and blue. These guys are full of energy and good to go. Hold up. We want to just check this out here because this is probably the greatest thing ever in baseball. Watch the outfielder. Now watch his reaction. He's got the ball in his glove, but he's just clowning, okay? Boom. I made the catch. How you like me now?
But and that shows you how much they're into this.
Oh, and look at the crowd. They have not had anybody like that crowd. They have not been able to fill that upper deck in that stadium in Miami ever. They hate the Marlins. Nobody goes to Marlins games, but they will fill that stadium up for Mexico versus Japan. Now, I think the marketing trick would be for the Marlins is to wear international uniforms for the season. This week we're Mexico. Next week we're the Dominican Republic, because that Dominican Republic game versus Mexico was off the chain. It was a sold-out stadium for that game.
So much excitement.
Oh, absolutely. It was like a party the entire 9 innings. And you get that kind of excitement. This come from behind win.
It's great. It's great to see.
It is. Yeah. It's absolutely great to see. But I just think that people, they want to dog it because there have been some injuries, some key injuries. New York is up in arms because they don't have a closer now. How he got injured? He was celebrating the team's win. He was jumping up and down and tore his knee up.
I always suspected that someone would injure themselves at the celebration. I always think somebody's going to hurt themselves. Yeah, I can see that.
And it did happen. But it's like, had he been chill, we won, he'd still be out there. But, you're playing for your country. And that's the thing about it. And the people were upset with Lindor of the Mets for saying winning in the World Baseball Classic is more important to him than the World Series. Wow. Granted, he's played like, $25 million a year to play Major League Baseball and to win a World Series, but he reveres wearing the uniform and representing his country. And Trey Turner, my cousin, he said pretty much the same thing about playing for Team USA.
You know what? I can't hate on them for that.
No.
But Tim, you back in your day, you were an athlete, right? So did you not celebrate? I'm assuming you guys won some games, so right? Did you celebrate?
We had to read how to celebrate. That gives you an idea. It'd been so infrequent. I had to write the celebration instructions in my hand.
Well,
we used to do that, but it never got out of hand. I've only seen one person hurt where in baseball somebody dove on somebody and then cleated them. The end. But nothing that where you guys are seriously injured like that. But there have been some really weird injuries in baseball. John Smoltz, who was announcing for this World Baseball Classic, burned his chest ironing his shirt on him.
Yes. I can see that happening.
And we've all
who hasn't ironed their clothes while on their.
We've all done that.
We've all been there. Yes. There are people who've like blown out a thumb playing video games and been spent time on the DL. Jeff Kent was riding a dirt bike and messed himself up. I mean, people with these really freak injuries. Somebody slept on their eye and could not play. Somehow they slept on a pillow, it injured their eye. So
okay, you keep a list of odd injuries. Are you keeping a list of odd injuries?
Oh yes, pretty much yes. So you say you think you've seen it all, you've heard it all. Yeah. So before we get out, he's got one to just like wrap up some really fast things. Cam Newton is trying to get back in the game,
and he has the quote of the day,
which is,
"I'm not going to repeat that on this family show."
You can't. It's only
I
one.
know it ain't 32 MFers better than me.
That's right,
and he's probably right.
He's probably right, but that very quote right there is why he's going to be sitting down somewhere because they know he's not going to sit except being a backup. He need to go to a cigar bar and chill.
Right.
That's what's happening.
Yeah, exactly right. Too much drama. That's the thing these cats don't get. Man, once you lose that high-end productivity, they're not going to put up with the nonsense. I think about Dez Bryant. Once he became just
left in his career.
Once he became just an average receiver, come on, Terrell Owens, you ain't got that no more. See,
bye.
Yeah,
Cam still has his fashion.
Yeah.
Style.
Exactly.
Still got the style.
Fashion is what's up.
That's why he'll be throwing it home.
Oh,
If you're throwing it home, picking out outfits to wear to Walmart. Because he won't be playing for anybody.
really? No.
He has the talent. He really does have the talent, but it's more than talent alone. They're like that. They're talented guys walking the street. It's all about relationships and knowing what where you fit in somewhere.
No,
Being willing to sit back somewhere. My America's team, the Falcons signed Taylor Heineke. He said he came to Atlanta to get back up.
Yeah.
Okay, I found this on the web where he said.
Rodney, I don't know what that was that snuck into the.
That was a Siri on my computer. She's so nosy.
She's all up in your sports business.
Speaking of that, John Morant can come back tomorrow night.
Yeah.
The reason why they put up with John Morant right now,
He's talented.
he's a high-end player, one of the best players in the league. But if he was just another guy, Tim,
Yeah.
he'd be gone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But but he's been catching all the heat for his public malfeasance. But then we get over here on the hockey side, where you got a kid that is at a bar and sees a wheelchair at the top of a flight of stairs and decides to just knock it down a flight of stairs, while somebody had taken this double amputee woman into a restroom. And that's this reprehensible behavior. But nobody is not catching any nth of the heat that Jai is behind his mistakes. And I think there's a real problem with that. I mean, there are no greater sins. There's no differentiation, but it seems as if somebody's sins are always greater than the others.
Joe's making a lot of money.
Yeah.
What is that guy's name?
Carson Briere. His dad, Daniel Briere, is the GM of the Philadelphia Flyers. And his dad said this is it's always the boilerplate thing. Lapse of judgment. This runs counter to our family values. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But this is this kid's second program, right? He was at Arizona, I believe, playing hockey and then it didn't go well there. Now he goes to whatever this small school is in New England. And, you think
it's a hard video to watch for me because, my heart is with people with disabilities. And so just seeing him just so casually tip over the wheelchair, kind of had sat down and scooted it up and then tipped it over down some steps. I mean, I don't understand that.
I'm like you. I have a heart for people with special needs people. And if that were my daughter, that he had to worry more about, being sorry and suspensions and that kind of stuff, because it's just uncalled for. It is that is a lack of home training, straight up, and maybe alcohol too.
That says something about that young man right there,
right?
And I want to see what's going to happen with him.
Well, I probably didn't. He probably wasn't thinking there was a video camera going, and so.
True.
The first thing an athlete, anybody should understand, there's always
a camera.
Always a camera
going.
I wonder if Jai really thought he was that. I mean, he went on IG with his, so he gets no points for that.
Well, I think about Willie McGinnis, the great Patriot linebacker.
Yeah, when he beat up the person in the restaurant, what was he thinking?
Dude,
security cameras.
Cameras are everywhere. So,
right.
Hey, chill out there, y'all. Hey, man, it's been a great hour, fast-paced hour. My goodness.
Yes.
We'll do it again next Tuesday.
All right.
Good luck on your brackets, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. For Tim Turner, Tree McDougal, I'm Rickey Hampton. Peace, everybody.
Good
See
night.
you next week.
Right.
All right. Thanks, guys.
See ya.